and to meet a lot of these people and to talk to them.
The people I've got connections with, graph-wise, like in other countries, is I'd say Amsterdam, which is Holland, Paris, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Scotland, Ireland, New York.
I painted in Chicago when I was there, just did a train there. I've painted in a lot of countries in Europe, not all of which I want to say, but I would say basically the scenes are pretty big in all them countries. Scandinavia, Germany, Holland, Switzerland. There's a very big writing scene in these countries, but personally I think nearly all of it's rubbish, you know. I think there's a lot of stuff being done, but it's all duplication. All they're trying to do in all these places is compare themselves to New York, to say, oh yeah, now Dortmund is like Germany, you know, it's like New York was 20 years ago. We are the new kings of graffiti, and now Scandinavia is this, and I've done 100 whole cars in the bush with no one after me. And, you know, and now Amsterdam is this, and now, you know, this place is like that. And they just like to compare themselves and see themselves as a continuation of, like, now the focus of graffiti art has moved away from New York, and it's like, yeah, Dortmund is the new centre of the graffiti universe, or wherever, you know, somewhere in Switzerland, or, you know. And I've never seen that attitude from people in London. Some people in London think they're good, think they're the best in London, think this, but nobody has ever said, yeah, we're the best in the world, yeah, we're better than these people. They've never said that, and they've always given respect to somewhere like New York and not tried to compare themselves. And, you know, a lot of these writers from these countries go to New York, and they don't show any form of respect. They just try to compete. They try to take over the system. They try to be like, yo, Adolf I is new king of the two-line, you know? And these writers travel all around the world, you know, bringing people up. Yes, I'm from so-and-so, you know. I want to make a piece with you. And
with growing interest and popularity worldwide, not all sections of the media are quick to dismiss it as a fad or a menace to society, but will openly respect it as an important and legitimate culture in its own right. Susan Shaw, the producer and director of the South Bank show, who in '93 commissioned AD to design and paint some graphics for one of their shows on hip-hop, is in full support of aerosol culture and doesn't just see it as being limited to street or even youth culture style graphics.
I definitely feel that graffiti artists have a place in the media in terms of the money-making, you know, corporate creative industries such as advertising, television, publishing, because a talented graffiti artist is basically a human Apple Mac, you know. He can, or he or she can produce any typographic style that you require, except with, you know, a faint flutter of human imperfection and, you know, an individual way of seeing things that will make the difference between an ordinary piece of print and something actually looking really rather lovely and interesting. So I can see sort of almost unlimited applications, you know, not for the traditional sort of graffiti pieces, but applying the talents of graffiti artists who have to be incredibly skilled draftspeople in the first place, you know, applying those skills in different areas, you know. I think that would be sort of, you know, there are endless possibilities there, you know.
With these endless possibilities, the scene has been set, not just in Britain, Europe and America, but also down under in Australia and New Zealand.
Many another journey's mistaken for a tree, till you're near him on another way, the tree begins to breathe. Coming in with the golden light in the morning.
Australian writer who's been writing for 10 years in Australia and New Zealand, gave an insight into the scene there on a recent trip to London.
I've done writing all over the world now. I've done most of my writing in Sydney. And the last 2 years away from there, just travelling all over.
How long has the scene been going down under?
Oh, couldn't say for sure. I know at least a lot longer than me, like 12 or so years. Couldn't say when the first writing was started.
What other countries have you written in?
Japan, London, twice. I like London. Europe, Germany, States, New Zealand, Australia, Tonga. Everywhere I go. I'm still traveling. I like London because it's a crazy place. You know, it's a big city, a lot of fun things to do. Yeah. Mass transport system, so it's a good place to do graffiti. The people here, most organised writers in the world, they're cool too. Yeah, a lot of good friends. I suppose that's a good reason too.
Is there a mentality difference between London writers and other writers around the world?
Definitely, I think I've got a close association with the writers in London. Sort of like I've been seeing writers all over the world, and there's a different wavelength. I mean, I see the writers in London are just people that do graffiti. For some reason, say the original writers in New York. You know, it's not something that they were labelled to do as their part of hip hop. You know, they just did it.
What of the comparisons between, say, Sydney and London?
I compare Sydney to London. Like with me, it's very similar. Like I sort of fit in really well over here, whether it comes to doing graffiti or not doing graffiti. You know. The rest of the writers in Sydney too. I mean, in Australia, the writers in Sydney, where I'm from, a lot of people doing crime. You know, a lot of the kids just sort of mad rush. These are crazy kids over there. I mean, and over here, it's like it's the same. You know, people got to live over here. It's just like surviving to a point.
And what of the attitudes of the police and the authorities?
The English police are a lot more onto it, doing a lot more. The Australian police, they know everyone. They've been a lot more lenient with us, really. For so many years, if you got caught, they just give you a caution and you go. There's no real problem. And you kept getting them, and they said, like, we're going to give you... Oh, they started saying, yeah, we send out a letter and you have to come to court. They never sent out the letter, so it wasn't much of a deterrent just to stop doing graffiti. I mean, Sydney as a whole isn't much of a deterrent from doing anything. I mean, most kids just get locked up, and get locked up ain't nothing else. It's alright. Come back out. People that are doing graffiti in Sydney didn't really have anything more to gain from doing anything. So yeah, I mean, the police over in London, it's pretty frightening, you know, to the extent that they go and how good they are, really. Yeah, good competition. Well, no one ever planned on people going down to the train yards and bombing the trains, or running up on the trains amongst live wires or live tracks and that. No one ever planned on people doing that. So like, if they have to spend more money to prevent people doing this silly thing, of course it's going to piss them off.
At the beginning of the 1980s, although most people in Britain were exposed to aerosol writing through hip-hop culture, the two couldn't be any more divided than they are now. Rap music has come a long way since the days of the party.